Okay, let's play with some side bending today. I really love side bends. They are a movement we don't do enough, I think, in our daily lives. So they can be really helpful to include in your yoga practice. That being said, today I'm going to introduce you to several side bending postures that I really enjoy. I wouldn't necessarily normally do a practice where I include all of these different side bends in a row. I'd like to integrate them with other kinds of movements and other kinds of poses. But for the purposes of introducing them to you today, I'm going to introduce several in a row. Please feel free to practice along if it feels good and get to know them, figure out which ones feel the best for you, and then integrate those ones into your personal practice. We're going to start lying down. I do like to be on the floor if you're able to access it because it tends to be a little bit firmer. And that can really help us with our awareness of what's going on in our bodies. That being said, if where you can practice easily is on a bed, feel free to do that instead. And just be aware of that because it's a little softer, what you're going to feel is a little bit different. You're welcome to either extend your legs or have them bent as I do. Feel free to add a little pillow or a blanket under your head and neck if that feels more comfortable, and to find any comfortable position for your hands and arms. The first thing we're going to do is take some nice easy breaths and just start to tune into sensations in your body. So pay attention to what you feel. Often what we notice first is places that feel uncomfortable. So if you have pain or tension, that usually will grab your awareness first. If you know how you can be more comfortable, please feel free. And otherwise, we'll just make note. This is kind of setting your baseline so that we can see if things change as you do the different practices today. And then start to tune into your connection to the floor or whatever surface you're lying on. Start from your head and scan through your body down towards your feet. Noticing any differences between your right and left sides. So you may find as you go through the body that one side feels heavier than the other, or that you feel some lift either towards the ceiling or towards the head through certain parts of your body. So just noticing what is going on, what is different. And know that asymmetry is okay. Asymmetry is normal. But again, it's part of how we can form a baseline awareness so we can start to notice what changes as we do the practices today. So you're just making note. And then encouraging your body to soften and allow the ground to support you anywhere that feels possible for you right now. When you're ready, if it's comfortable for your body, you're going to extend both of your legs on the mat. If that causes discomfort, then you might choose to leave your knees bent. By the same token, if you can comfortably take one or both arms up alongside your ears, you're going to do that as well. And if not, it's okay not to. We're going to start with an inhale, just reaching the fingers for the wall overhead, the heels for the opposite wall, getting nice and long through your whole body. Exhale to relax. And then keep the left side soft. Inhale, reach long through the right side, reaching the fingers to the heel. And exhale to soften. And then keep the right side relaxed. Inhale, reach through the left, getting long and letting go. And then one more time, inhale, stretch long through the right side, reach and relax. And one more time, reaching through the left side, getting long and letting go. From here, you're going to start to walk your heels over to the right any amount, paying attention to how you feel and keeping the back of both hips on the floor. So you could do this with your legs straight or you could do this with your legs bent. Either way, you're walking your feet over to your right. As well as your legs moving towards the right, you may find your pelvis can comfortably rotate a little bit so that that right hip comes a little higher and that left hip comes a little lower. You're only going to do that if it feels good. Absolutely no need to introduce strain in the way that you're moving your body. And then we're going to do the same thing with the arms, starting to walk the arms over to the right. Maybe the head and shoulders can curve over to the right, but we're going to keep the back of the left shoulder and rib cage down towards the floor as you go to the right. So you're creating a C curve any amount over to the right side, but being fairly soft about it as you go. Now, if it's comfortable, you can take your right hand and just lightly grasp your left wrist here. And the aim is not to pull on your left arm necessarily, just to create a little bit of an anchor. By the same token, if you can comfortably cross your left ankle over your right, you might do that as well. And then you're going to tune into sensations along your left side as well as through your rest of your body. If anything is uncomfortable, you might see if you can back off, either uncrossing or walking the feet back a little bit, backing off of any areas that you need to in order to reduce discomfort and get a nice, easy, even opening through the left side. And then if the purpose of this were not to create a curve so much as it is to find awareness of your left side, to find breath in your left side, how would you do this pose if it weren't so much about the shape, but more about ease of breathing and deeper awareness of the left side body? So you may notice some parts don't move as much or move as comfortably or move as well. The floor behind you is helping maintain a little bit more of a flatter shape. Not that we are flat, because we're not. Helping you to focus maybe a little bit more on the side bend. And then when you're ready, if you have the ankles crossed, uncross them. If you're holding the wrist, release it. Walk everything back to center. Maybe notice if you feel lopsided here. And then you're going to start to walk the legs over to the left. Now they might go as far as they did on the right side, or they might move more or less. You're going to pay attention to comfort level here. And if your pelvis is also tilting, you're going to do that in a way that feels really good. Both hips still grounded on the floor. And then as you walk your arms, your head, maybe even your shoulders over towards the left, you're going to make sure that right shoulder blade area still rests and that you feel comfortable and at ease here. If you want to take your left hand and lightly anchor your right wrist, you can do that. If you'd like to cross your right ankle over your left, you can do that as well. You're going to direct your awareness into that whole right side as well as any other areas where you feel more sensation. Back off anywhere the sensation is intense. You're getting a little bit more of an even and easy sense of opening through that right side. And then if the purpose of this was not to make a shape with your body, but rather to bring some awareness to your breathing in the right side ribs, would that change how you did the pose? So you don't have to curve at all to bring that awareness to the right side breath. See if you can tune in and also find some softness. So noticing where maybe moving into this position is actually requiring some tension. And then, if you were to move or change how you're doing it, do it without the arm. Does that take the tension out? Do it without the ankle cross. Does that take the tension out, right? Just seeing how you can find the most comfortable, easy side bend here. When you're ready to come out, you're going to uncross the ankles, release the wrists, walk everything back to center. You might breathe into the body, take a nice long stretch. And then if you're more comfortable with your arms down by your sides or your knees bent, you can come back into that position if you like. And take a moment to just notice what you feel now, having done that. How are things now? When you're ready, you're going to roll to one side and press up, or press up whatever way feels good. And you're going to find yourself in a seat, whether that's on the floor or on the chair. If you're sitting on the floor, you may like to sit up on a cushion or a blanket for a little bit more height under your sitting bones. Sometimes that makes a floor seat a little more comfortable. And feel free to take any leg position that feels good. So you don't need to be cross-legged here unless that's what feels really good for you. You're going to take a moment to get settled into your sitting bones, seeing if you can sit evenly between the right and left halves of your pelvis. Take some nice easy breaths to feel into how seated is different from lying down. And then when you're ready, you're going to bring your right hand down to the floor. Sorry, I'll mirror you. Right hand down to the floor. If your left shoulder is happy with it, you're going to bring your left arm up, and then you're going to take a side bend over to the right. Now, as you're side bending over to the right, some people will find, okay, so I tend to do this more by moving at the hips. Maybe even this hip comes up off the floor a little bit as I come over. And actually, there's not much side bend. Like my side ribs here are actually pretty straight. So that's something that sometimes happens when we try to side bend here. For other people, you may find you're able to really think about your breastbone moving, getting some curve up through your side ribs and into your armpit, really getting a nice easy opening through the whole spine. Maybe the head comes over to the side a little bit. And then you're bringing some breath up into the top side of your rib cage, thinking about creating space between each rib as you do so. Take one more breath here. And then when you're ready, you're going to bring your left hand all the way down, coming back upright. Notice how you feel first. Lopsided, perhaps. Now you're going to bring your left hand down. If your right shoulder is happy with it, you're going to bring your right arm up alongside your right ear. And then you're going to side bend over to the left. And again, pay attention to how you're moving, like how are you driving this movement, right? So for some of us, right, if we're moving really through here, through this part of the body, then you may notice like the hip lifts up, right? You can maybe even see it all the way down into my knee and my lower leg when I move like that. Versus if you're able to stay pretty grounded and even in the legs, and then come into that side bend more through the rib cage, or at least a little more evenly. We're able to keep both sitting bones grounded, keep the legs pretty relaxed, and still find opening through the side ribs, the armpit, and then bring some breath up into that area. Nice easy inhale, seeing where you can relax as you breathe out. Take one more breath here. And then make your way back up, coming back to your regular seat. Take a few breaths in center, just breathing straight up and down the spine. Feeling both sit bones settle evenly to the earth. Getting a little more grounded. Noticing how you feel after those side bends. And then for those who are able, we're going to come to all fours. So if you prefer to have your knees padded, you can pad your knees. If you are more comfortable having your hands in fists, Palms flat, maybe even a little forward, maybe even a little turned out. Or you could come even down onto your forearms. So feel free to experiment a little bit with what this looks like for you. Take a few breaths, see if you can soften through the abdomen a little bit. And feel your connection through both hands, both knees in the floor. So we're going to keep the legs the same. And we're going to start to walk the hands over towards the right. So if I go further here, my hips are going to swing over to the left. And I'm going to lose some of the side bend because of that. So again, just to demonstrate, as I'm here, my legs are going to stay the same. My pelvis is going to stay in the same position. As I walk the arms over to the right, I'm creating a side bend, again, a little bit more through the upper part of my rib cage, down to the hip, maybe even taking the gaze over more towards my right hand. And then you can see if you can get some breath through the left side ribs. From here, you're going to walk back to center. And notice how center feels. You're going to walk the hands over to the left, and then again, watch for the hips to swing swing right. If your hips swing right, you're going to take more side bend out of it. So the hips stay where they are at. Your knees and legs stay where they're at. Arms are going to walk any amount over to the side. Sending some breath into the right side ribs. You might even take the gaze a little more towards your left hand. And then come back to center. Give yourself a break if you need to. If things are feeling good, we'll do just a few rounds of cat and cow here. So taking a nice inhale. As you exhale, you'll come towards cat pose. So the tail tucks, the head comes down, spine arches up like a rainbow. Inhale towards cow pose, head and tail lift. Heart and abdomen melt towards the floor. Exhaling into your cat pose. Inhaling into your cow pose. I'm going to do one more round here. Come back to your tabletop. And then once again, we're going to walk the hands right. Hips stay where they're at, knees stay where they're at. And now you're going to play with a little bit of cat-cow here. Now you're going to notice the side bend makes it pretty different. Asking for different movement through the spine and the shoulders, movements might be really small. We want this to be easy and comfortable. Just exploring a little bit what happens now. Coming back to neutral, walk your hands back to center, walk them over to the left any amount. Feel free to keep it nice and small. And then see if you can find a little bit of cat and cow. Sometimes it feels more natural on one side than the other. Or we notice, well, something else is wanting to happen now when I do this movement on this side. Go nice and easy if you're not sure how this is going to feel. We want everything to be easy and comfortable in this practice. And then when you're ready, you're going to come back to center. And maybe if you like, just one or two nice easy movements in center. Feeling the whole spine move in coordination with hips and shoulders. And then we're going to come back to your seated position. Finding a rest for a moment. Take a moment to find your sit bones on the floor. Nice easy breath through the whole torso. Noticing how you feel. And then we'll take a moment to check in lying down. So this is where we began the practice and took our baseline. So it's important for us to check back in and see if anything changed. So you're going to come onto your back. If you had your legs straight before, you can go ahead and straighten your legs. Find the same arm position. Notice your connection to the floor. Paying attention as you scan through to any differences between right and left side, seeing if things feel the same as they did before. Also check in with any areas that might have had stronger sensation. Feel free to take as long as you have to rest following this practice, to observe, to allow your body to settle after doing those different kinds of more active side bends. If you found one or more of these side bends was really particularly helpful for you, I would see if you can integrate that into regular practice and notice what happens as you do that. If you have any questions or if issues came up, I'd love to answer questions in the comments. Feel free to share your experiences as well. And I hope you found these side bends really useful. Take really good care.